So today's video is a bit of a silly video because today I'm going to be comparing two watches that have absolutely no reason to ever be compared. I'm going to be comparing my own Omega Seamaster 300M, this beauty of a watch, against my newly acquired Omega Aqua Terra in blue. So these watches should never really be compared because they are so different and have really no reason to be compared. So let's do it anyway. Now before I jump fully into the video, I'm going to be doing my drinks check and my wristwatch check. Now in my last video I wasn't able to do my wristwatch check, and it's the same again for this video because, well, I actually haven't got a watch on my wrist. And the reason being is whoever wins this little silly head-to-head is going to be the one I'm going to put on. So at the end of the video I'll then have a watch on my wrist. So I can do a drinks check. It's very boring, I have to say. It's just some water. Really boring, unfortunately, today. Give me some ideas if you want to see some spicy cocktails or something. I'm down to do anything, so put it in the comments if you want to see some cool drinks drink on this channel. Now, let's jump into the actual video. Okay, so there's quite a lot of facts in this video, and there's also quite a lot of personal preference. So let's get the facts out of the way first. Price. Well, they're actually very comparable in price now. Only a year ago, they were very different in price. But the Aquaterra is ever so slightly more expensive at £5,800, whereas the Omega 300M is £5,500. By the time you're watching this, that might be completely different now because the 300M and the Aquaterra are changing quite rapidly in price. They're normally going directly up. So that might be a completely different figure now you're watching this video in a year's time or something. But right now, that's what the price is. But the other facts, okay, let's talk about the case diameter. 42.5 for the Omega 300M and 38mm for the Aquaterra. Completely different. They are massively different. It's because one's a dress watch and the other is a very heavy-duty dive watch. So they have just different reasons to be so big and small. So small dress watches, quite casual, quite normal. But dive watches need to be big so they are quite visible and they can go down to high depths. So very different there. The next thing is the case thickness, coming in at 12.2 for the Aquaterra and 13.6 for the Omega 300M. Now, the only other thing to mention is the movement, which is very similar because they're nearly exactly the same. Technically, they are the same. They are the caliber 8800, but there are tiny little differences that probably no one else really would pick up on, like the bridge near the balance wheel is slightly different on the Aquaterra compared to the 300. And there's a couple letters on the Aquaterra that don't exist on the 300. Tiny minute details, but yeah, they are basically the same movement with the same capabilities. Right, let's talk about something a bit more personal preference. The bracelets. So I own both of these watches on the bracelet. Now, I'm not a bracelet guy. I buy every watch on a bracelet so that if I ever sell that watch, it's more resellable. But I hate bracelets, truth be told, because I just find them too jangly. They're easily scratched and they are very similar. So if you're finding someone else wearing the same watch, they're probably going to be wearing that same bracelet as you. So you just sort of blend in with everyone else wearing that watch. That's why I like to throw in my own flair with different straps. But let's compare the bracelets. So the 300M has quite a reputation as being a very good bracelet. I didn't enjoy it that much. I thought I was going to, and I hyped myself up for it for years. But I didn't really enjoy it that much, and I think the reason is it just didn't taper down. It's a thick bracelet all the way down, there's no taper, and although the polishing is really nice and very, unique, I just couldn't really fall in love with it. The other thing is that's really good about that bracelet is actually the micro adjust. The on-the-fly micro adjust is a lovely thing to have, and I really appreciate it, as well as the diver's extension. Both things that the Aquaterra's bracelet misses entirely. So the Aquaterra's bracelet, the reason I don't like it, and I think it's substantially worse than the 300M's, is because of the system it uses to unlock it. Instead of being like an easy push trigger release like the 300M, it's actually a butterfly clasp, and you don't really have any easy way to undo the one side. You can open it up fine, and then to undo the other side you have to just slip a fingernail and push upwards, which doesn't feel very premium for a bracelet that's costing probably, what, £300-400? That doesn't feel very good now, does it? I mean, my Longines has a bracelet that feels better than that and uses the same butterfly system. So the bracelet is definitely a win for the 300M. Okay, let's talk about the case finishing and the depth ratings of these watches. So very clearly the Omega 300 will win this because it goes down to 300 meters opposed to the Aquaterra that only goes down to half of that, 150 meters. So it's a clear win for the Omega 300 there. Not really, no one ever contested that. The case finishing, however, is very, very similar. I wouldn't say there's really anything in it, so I'd call that an equal draw. Now, the only other thing to really mention about this watch's head-to-head, it's got to be the loom. What are the looms like? Well, I'd actually say that the loom on the Aquaterra, it's abysmal. Really bad. If you haven't seen my last video, I've done a video where I do a head-to-head of all my watches going against their loom, and the Aquaterra is surprisingly bad. Now, it doesn't really matter that much because it's not really meant for that sort of use. It's not that heavy-duty, very practical watch. It's more of a dress watch, so it doesn't really need it, or it could have no loom at all. It is just a bonus. But at the same time, it's not great, is it? I mean, the Aquaterra just gets crushed by the 300 in this category. So the only other thing to really mention is how good are they as go anywhere, do it all watches? Which is the better one? Which would you rather have, the 300 or the Aquaterra? Well, if I had to be perfectly honest, I think the 300 just gets this win, like just gets it. And the reason being is it's just so much more practical because it has that time bezel, it can go down a bit further, and I just feel like it wears a little bit better in all scenarios. I mean, the Aquaterra is fantastic, do not get me wrong, and if you had this as your only watch, you would not be disappointed. But I think the Aquaterra gets beaten just ever so slightly by the 300 in this category, and if I had to have one, I think it's going to have to still be the 300. Yeah. So today I'm going to be putting on the 300. Thank you so much for watching this silly video. I mean, I've enjoyed filming it. It really was just a silly short video doing a head-to-head that never needed to be done. But, you know, I like filming these types of videos anyway. And if you enjoy watching them, please show your support by liking and subscribing if you haven't already. Thank you ever so much for watching. Until this video though, goodbye.